Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Alex. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I think this is number 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Something like that. With Seth today.
Hello.
Something I'm going to be starting is I'm going to start putting timestamps on the first opening screen so you guys can skip to when we talk about the first topic, second topic, or whatever else. So that way you don't have to try to find it if you don't want to watch the whole thing. If you noticed, I got some new channel artwork done by my friend Steven. So shout out to Steven. Thank you for making me a header, Twitter banner, and a new logo icon profile
AKA
picture
Churfy,
thing.
by the way. He also goes by that.
He also goes by Churfy, so shout out to him.
Yeah, we've both known him for a long time, so he's a good friend of ours. So thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Today is Donovan Mitchell's birthday. I think yesterday was John Wall's, so shout out to them.
Happy birthday!
Don't do that ever again. Oh my lord. I'm sweating here after you did that. That just made me...
How does that make you sweat?
That made me that uncomfortable. Oh my god.
Happy birthday. Leave it in the comments if you're also sweating. I need to know if anybody else
that was the worst
is
thing
made
I've ever
nervous and uncomfortable by that.
Oh my god. Please, no, seriously, please don't do that again. Also, shout out to Ray Allen, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, and Grant Hill for being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
The past day or two. All legendary careers.
Yeah. Steve Nash gets overlooked a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean...
There's some people that recognize him, the really, hard b-ball heads, but, when you talk about basketball stars, Steve Nash doesn't really come up as much.
But he is one of the all-time great point guards.
Right.
And then... Every time I think of Ray Allen, I think about that corner 3 in Game 6 of the finals.
Does.
Yeah,
everybody does.
It's one of my favorite shots of all time.
Yeah, it's a super iconic shot. Potentially saving LeBron's legacy, which we'll get to in a minute. It was just one of our topics today, but I digress.
Yeah, and then Grant Hill's career kind of fell off because of injuries, but he was still great.
Still an amazing player. Some of these people kind of get forgotten, and new stars come up, and
And then there's Jason Kidd, who's also one of the all-time great point guards, who's also kind of forgotten a little bit. Okay, so the topics for today are, we're going to talk about how much longer will LeBron play, and is this his final chapter, so to speak, and what's next for him after all this. And then we're going to talk about which players have the most to prove next season, including Carmelo Anthony, Damian Lillard, Andrew Wiggins, Isaiah Thomas, John Wall, Westbrook, players like that. So yeah, let's just get into it. Which one do you want to talk about first?
We can just talk about
You want to touch on LeBron and then get to the
bigger
topic?
Yeah, we feel like with players who have something to prove, that's going to be consuming more time because we're talking about a lot of people. But with this, obviously a really important figure in basketball, but still
Okay, so
topic.
Obviously we know LeBron James signed a 4-year max deal to play in Los Angeles this summer. So he's going to be there for the next 4 years. After that, what's next for him? Is playing in Los Angeles his final chapter, so to speak?
It would make sense. I don't know how much longer he can. He's just such a superhuman to me, and at his age, what he's still able to do, it just seems like he's only getting better. With age, some athletic ability might be going down, but he's increased his IQ. His basketball IQ is insane. He makes the most amazing passes, reads on different plays, and I don't know. He's aging like fine wine, which he loves, by the way.
I think he even said that himself.
He's a winehead.
It's hard for me to say he's gonna regress because, like you said, he's only been getting better. It seems.
And it just seems like he could be 55 and just still somehow make himself relevant.
He's going to be 37 at the end of this deal, right? And I think that he's got a window with this young Lakers squad to maybe win a championship within the next 4 years, as long as he can still play at his high level.
Right.
But as for playing again after that, who knows how good he's going to be after the end of this contract? He's probably still going to be, very good, one of the top 5 players in the league. But I'm thinking maybe KD will have overcome him by then, considering the next 4 years. I guess we'll never know.
There's a possibility.
We won't know until, the next couple seasons are over with. But I can't see him signing another max deal at age 37 to play into his 40s.
It just doesn't.
It just doesn't sound right.
Right. And that's the thing. He's he likes to create his own story, so I think he'll make sure his legacy is sealed and portrayed the way he wants it to be. I don't think he's going to force anything.
That's exactly why he went to the Lakers, was to play for a historic organization. Yeah. Because he wanted that under his resume.
Right. So you finish off with the Lakers, and if you can win a championship for him, you know.
His legacy's obviously already cemented. He's got 3 rings. Beat one of the best teams assembled with that 73-9 Warriors team. Beat them in 2016. Came back from 3-1, which has never been done before in the finals. And it's just things like that, like, you know, he's obviously in the GOAT conversation. Some people will say he is. Some people will say it's Jordan, but that doesn't matter. It's all subjective, sort of.
To me, I think, like, yeah, it is subjective to a point, but I feel like LeBron has been more outspoken about certain things. I feel like Michael Jordan, you know, he let his game talk a lot more. But with LeBron, you know, over the years, he's gotten a little bit more outspoken with what he feels about this, whether it's politics.
Social issues and stuff.
Yeah, social issues.
He even opened his own school.
Yeah, charities and different events that he started and helped with. And that spawned other things. Like I saw Derrick Rose did his own type of charity event, or, you know, he opened a school or something like that.
Something with tuition.
Yeah, something about that. Which
KD did the same type of thing.
Yeah, which is just great for, well, not the league, but, you know, it's a great...
For the humanity.
Yeah, just for humanity in general. Like, he's... You know, we just saw that Nike ad, you know, be bigger than basketball. And he really has been. He's a larger-than-life figure.
I love that commercial, by the way. That new Nike ad with Kaepernick narrating it. That's my favorite commercial of all time.
It's really good.
It is. So LeBron is just one of the, like, greatest philanthropists. He's never had any kind of scandals or anything. Married to the same woman he dated in high school. Has 3 kids. Has never had any negativity based around him. He's always just been a great human.
Yeah, he's been a great role model, which, you know, that's, again, you know, with that Michael Jordan comparison, you know, people were trying to look up to Michael Jordan, and sometimes, you know, he'd come to practice with a cigar hanging out of his mouth. He wasn't exactly your prime role model.
And then there was the whole gambling thing.
Yeah, like, you know, his past is a bit sketchy, but LeBron has just been he's been in such a spotlight because of, you know, this generation's way of media, social media, and just how broadcast everything is, especially when you're a superstar on LeBron James's level, which I don't think anyone else has been in a long time, if ever.
Yeah, probably not.
So, you know, his ability to keep his head level and, you know, be a genuine all-around person throughout his whole career is really admirable.
Yeah, it is. And to be this consistent and to be that consistent with life outside of basketball for years and years and years, this is crazy. So he's going to be going into his 16th season? Yeah, he's going to be going into his 16th season. And he's not getting any worse at all. If anything, he's getting better, like we said earlier. And it's just like, I don't know how much longer that can go on for. At some point, you have to retire.
At some point.
Like, I can't see LeBron being this good when he's 41 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he signs another max deal at 37, he's going to play into his 40s, and I can't see him being
that's the difference. You have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
There's, you know, a point where you have to draw the line between legacy and health. And, you know, we've seen players who don't balance that very well, and they end up, you know, really, you know, distraught and kind of hurt in their older age.
Yeah.
And it really can have a huge effect.
I'd say 5 or 6 more years, and you should call it a career, because he probably could go on and do it, but like you said, that's not good for health reasons probably. But with how well he takes care of himself and
he's already a health specimen.
Yeah,
he's
crazy.
Just insane.
So he could do it. I just don't know if he should, because he's already cemented his legacy, and one more championship would just be icing on the cake at that point.
I just feel like he
just
could
a bonus.
Windmill on dudes when he's 60. Like, he's just, he's unreal.
Yeah.
He's just an unreal dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like I said, if he wins a championship with LA, that'll be icing on the cake, but he has nothing to prove anymore after that. I mean, this contract is weird. It's actually cool though, because when his contract is up, his son will be Bronny James will potentially be entering the draft and, you know, be a lottery pick, assuming he's going to be that good. I don't know. How do you not be the son of LeBron James and make it to the NBA? You know what I'm saying? Like, people are already saying
that's another thing. He's so incredible that the amount of pressure that's on his kid.
And, that's going to be crazy.
He said to other people, you know,
he regrets naming him after himself.
right? Because that was more just like a fatherhood thing where he just wanted to be there for his kid. He's like, all right, I'm going to name him after me, and I'm going to be the best dad ever.
Right.
That was the reasoning, but he still kind of feels bad about it, knowing what he's accomplished and wanting his kids to follow a certain type of, well, not a certain type of route, to find their own way, find their own success,
right?
Rather than being like, oh, you're LeBron James' son, you have to be,
you have to play basketball,
greatest ever as well, you know.
Yeah. Dwayne Wade said he's not going to force his kids to play. Yeah. And there's no
I
way
saw one of his kids though. He's a baller.
Yeah, and there's no way LeBron's going to force his kids to play either. But that's just what they do because they want to be like their dad.
Yeah, they're just around it so much.
Yeah.
There's no, you can't really get away from it.
They fall in love with it, right? It's not like they're making.
You
their
see your
kids
dad
play.
win championships. You're like, I want to be that. Like we said, he's a great role model, and you know, being the son of LeBron, and you know, having his name, having taken his name, you know, you want to live up to at least something like that.
Right.
You aspire to that, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And then wherever his son gets drafted to, they'll probably sign LeBron for a 1 or 2 year deal to play, because that's one of his goals is to play on the same team.
I might cry that whole season. That's like the most beautiful thing
that's
I've ever
poetic.
heard of.
That's so poetic.
To see like an alley-oop from LeBron, like to Bronny.
Or from Bronny to LeBron.
Yeah, something crazy like that. I just, oh my God, that'll be amazing.
But after that, because that's his ultimate goal, he said in his career, is he wants to play on the same team as his son. So after he finishes out his stint with the Lakers, I think he'll sign with whoever drafts his son, and then play a year or 2 with him, and that'll probably be it. Yeah.
That'll be funny though if he gets drafted on like a really bummy team, and then LeBron just has to join the most bummy team in the league at the time.
Oh my God! Like, it's hard to predict who the lottery teams will be
exactly.
in that year,
because it's so far away. You can't imagine what it's going to be.
Yeah. What if it's
like an old LeBron playing with like an old Westbrook?
That would be funny. But Westbrook would be like the Vince Carter of that time, just fighting on a young team, and then they'll go play. That would be just unreal, man. It's hard to predict that type of thing, but whenever it happens, it will happen. Whenever that is, that'll be a storybook ending. Just to play a couple years with your son and then retire.
It'll be told for so many years,
That's arguably the GOAT. You'll retire.
Yeah, you know? I'm gonna tell my kids all about how amazing he was to watch in real time.
Same.
And, you know how great his legacy was. I'm sure, you know, with technology now, they'll be able to see all the old clips they want
in HD, and
see every game.
Definition.
Probably better definition than we saw, man.
Probably.
But, you know, it's different when you see it live. You know, you can look at old video clips, you know, and see this, that, and the other of how great Wilt Chamberlain was per se. But you know, you hear these legendary stories about these people. You know, from call them old heads, whatever you want. But you know, there's some wisdom there. There's definitely something to be said for that.
And like the generation below us, when they're watching the throwbacks, like our throwbacks now are like the 90s playoffs and stuff like that. When they're when our generation below us is watching the throwbacks from like the 2010s and seeing that Ray Allen corner 3 like we mentioned earlier, or seeing like LeBron's run to the championship in 2016, or even Curry's run to it, Curry and KD, watching them and how great they still are, but we're talking about in the future how great they were. Kids watching it they're not gonna know what it was like to see this type of thing live. And that's just cool to think about. Yeah,
it's cool to think about what the NBA will be like.
Yes, we've mentioned that before too.
Yeah, we've talked about that, but
oh man, I'm so excited.
But it is an exciting thing because he's just such a phenomenon, and just in my opinion, the best of all time. You know, again, it's subjective, but I just love watching him, and I just wish the best for him because he's just such an inspiring person to me.
I used to not really like him that much, but after the last 2 seasons, or since 2016, watching him win that championship, and then seeing the great person he is off the court, I really didn't watch basketball before the 2016 season, and then I really, really got into it and educated myself on everything just about, and
that's one thing about
I just heard people talk about LeBron, and I never even watched basketball. I was like, oh, no, I don't like LeBron. But then when I actually started watching it, I still had that in my head that I didn't like LeBron. But now I love him, as both an off-the-court role model and on-the-court player. He's one of the greatest, potentially the greatest of all time. It's crazy how your opinion can change.
Shouts outs to LeBron.
Yep. What if you ever? I wonder if we'll ever hear this one day. Just this audio.
Hell no.
I'm just saying, how funny would that be if just he happens to hear it one day?
Right? Yeah. When he's in his older age, somehow finds this.
Can you imagine how many like video clips there are? Like, there's nothing that hasn't been said about LeBron.
Yeah.
You know. So he's probably heard it all.
Yeah, like what we've been talking about right now, I'm sure has been talked over, you know, hundreds of times. But you know,
right.
that's the point. Way. Yeah, that's the point of this podcast, to present, you know, our ideas.
Yeah.
You know, and how we see things. You know.
Right.
See certain ideas, topics, and you know, give our takes on it.
Yep.
So thank you for listening in, and we appreciate your feedback. You know, we've told you before, but thank you guys for listening.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so that's a good place to transition into our next topic here is, which players have the most to prove next season?
All right, who do you want to start off with?
I think the man.
The man.
I think the two players with the most to prove next season are Russell Westbrook and Damian Lillard. Those are the top two for me. And we'll say Melo.
Okay.
How about we'll say the OK3 of last year? Melo, Westbrook, and I'm sorry.
Well, it's not
Melo, Westbrook, and Paul George.
Well, it's the revamped.
The revamped. Now it's the OK2. Melo's in Houston.
OK2 2.5.
But we'll say that group of players last year on OKC and Damian Lillard. I'll start with Westbrook. Okay. Actually, Westbrook and Paul George are tied in together. They didn't make it past the first round last year, which they probably should have. Even though the Jazz are a great team,
they definitely should have.
They just weren't ready for that. Nobody was ready for that.
Yeah, and you look at it on paper, and it's actually a great matchup. You know, such a strong defensive team, Gobert in the paint. Just
it was crazy how underrated the Jazz were coming into the season. Because nobody knew what Donovan Mitchell was going to be.
Right, you know, a rookie leading the whole team.
Yeah.
It's insane.
But if, like, Westbrook's legacy, he's got to get past the first round and potentially to the Western Conference Finals.
Absolutely.
Like, within the next couple of years, which I think they'll do, probably.
If he doesn't, that's going to be really sad because, you know, there's always those great players that don't achieve those even close to, you know, the greatness that they probably aspired to be.
And that they could achieve if in the right situation.
Right. Sometimes, you know, circumstance just isn't in your favor.
Yeah. And I think Paul George needs to prove that him re-signing with OKC was the right choice. Because he could have gone to LA and potentially won a championship there. But instead, he chose to re-sign with OKC. So I'm watching you, Paul George. You gotta prove this year that was the right choice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of my favorite players.
Sweat is dripping from his brow, for sure. It's like, oh, God, Alex NBA called me out.
No, I just think he's got to, like, he's one of my favorite players, like I always say. But I just want to see that this was the right choice for him.
Right, and you know, obviously, this is his chance to prove.
They got to get past the first round for that.
Because you know, true. Westbrook and George, they did have a pretty decent chemistry. Melo not so much, but there was definitely something there with those two.
Yeah, and that's why they're going to be much better this year than they were last year.
Yeah, and that's what he recognized. He was like, I think I can stick with this group and make something happen.
Because they added some decent depth. They got Schroeder.
Which I think is a great move.
Yeah, that's probably the second, aside from Terry Rozier. Him and Dennis Schroeder and Terry Rozier are probably the two best backup point guards in the league.
Where did Felton go?
He's still there.
He's still there?
I'm pretty sure. Walking rotisserie chicken. Who else did they add? They added Nerlens Noel. So they got some pretty good depth now. And you know, they've got Steven Adams, who's one of the solid centers. He's like a more traditional center. Can't really shoot, but still he's great for rebounding and
also a great personality as well.
I love talked
Steven
about
Adams.
him before. But yeah, I think the Thunder are gonna have a much better year. Obviously,
I think it will mesh a lot better than you know the kind of forced chemistry that happened last year.
But I think the pressure is on Melo and George is on Westbrook and George to get past the first round and put up a good fight in the second round against somebody. So I think they got that to prove that they can be that third best team in the West.
Absolutely.
Top team in the NBA. And then as for Melo,
with
he's
him
just
in the Rockets.
Yeah, he's just got to prove that last season he had
was just
that horribly inefficient season.
Was just a one bad season.
I mean, he's never been the most efficient player, but last season was just awful.
Right.
Now that he's going to be in a system under Mike D'Antoni, even though he's played for him before in New York in a was kind of a fuzzy relationship. I still think he's got to prove that he's still Melo, that he can still be one of the best scorers on a good team.
That should be the documentary that comes out after he has a great season next year. It's still Melo. That should be the.
Oh man, can you imagine? Can you imagine like a Nike ad, still Melo? And
that'd be dope. Like if he actually proves he can,
If he proves he's still Melo.
Yeah. I think young cores have been stepping up, so to speak, with, Celtics young core stepping up last year and being able to accomplish what they did.
Yeah.
I think it's time for OKC's some of their younger players to step up a little bit, because who's replacing Melo? Isn't it Jeremy Grant? Isn't he going to be in their 5, or that's projected to be?
I guess.
Who's the 5?
Yeah, somebody's going to have to step up.
So, yeah, there's going to have to be some definite, improvements on that front. They show great promise and they show some crazy athletic ability. Do they still have Ferguson?
I believe so.
All right, then again, Ferguson can fly, dude. I like seeing.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna be a good team. And then with Damian Lillard, okay.
Everything. I'm just gonna let you speak on this.
Okay, I'm gonna preface my comments with this. I am a huge Damian Lillard fan. He is my favorite player right now. You get to 3rd seed in the West. Granted, the standings were very close. And then you go into the playoffs and you get swept by the Pelicans, who are the 6th seed. Even though they, like I said, the standings were super close. You choked in the playoffs, man. And that hurt my heart because he's my favorite player.
Right. This is coming from a very hurt fan right here.
Yeah, I'm a huge Damian Lillard fan. And I was so distraught over that.
Yeah, if there's any criticism that you can take, it's someone who really cares about your game and who really has been watching you for a long time and is a big fan. Yeah. So,
but he choked in the playoffs, which was just so sad to watch that he got clamped by Rondo and Holiday.
Yeah.
But he's gonna have an even bigger chip on his shoulder this year than he's had in the past because he's got to go into this season and prove that he is that guy. I am an all-star. I am a top 5 point guard. I am first team All-NBA. I am that guy. I'm an elite point guard in this league. He's got to go and improve that. He's got to do it again after getting swept in the playoffs. So I think he's going to have a bounce back year. But
the stories aren't really the same with people like DeRozan and Kawhi, just because they have I don't know, their situation's sort of reset. They have a different set of standards.
Yeah.
But yeah, just Lillard, and don't excuse CJ McCollum either.
Yeah, well,
because they both need to perform to the level we know they can perform.
Yeah, they just had a terrible. I don't know what happened in the playoffs. They just started playing terrible basketball at the end of the season. They could have had over 50 wins, but they just started playing bad basketball, and they lost their last. They lost 2, or I'm sorry, they only won 2 of their last 8 games or something like that. But he's, like I said, he's got to prove that he's an MVP caliber player, first team All-NBA type player. He's got to go in and do it again, just so he can not only get his legacy back on track after getting swept, but also just to prove that he's that dude.
Right, and he's proved time and time again that he is that dude.
Right. It's just what happened in the playoffs is just that kind of just deflates everything that he's done up to. Not everything, but we obviously still know he's one of the best players in the NBA, but his legacy took a hit.
It just leaves a question mark. It's well, what now?
Right. How are you going to follow that up? You got to get better. You got to prove this year that
you have to come out. You have to let your game speak next season, because obviously you don't really say anything other than that unless you're really upset. So.
And he can't call himself underrated anymore.
Yeah.
After that, still my favorite player. Still love him, but you got to prove it this season.
Yeah. Also, don't. If you think you're underrated, let your fans speak for you.
Yeah, most do. He never himself really says it. It's more of this. I'm sorry, I should have been more specific. It's more of this narrative created by the media that he's underrated.
Yeah.
So there's all that.
All right. So on from Lillard. Talk about. Let's see. We got a list here. I really do want to talk about Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
What can we say about Isaiah Thomas's career so far, up to this point?
Well, drafted 60th overall, proved that he is capable of being a starting point guard.
How did you remember that? 60th overall? How does that stick in your head like that?
I don't know. It's just something I know, I guess. But he was the last pick in the second round. Comes in, proves he's a starting caliber point guard on the Kings. Beats out Jimmer Fredette to be the starter. Gets traded to Phoenix. Things don't work out in Phoenix. Ends up in Boston. Works his ass off to become a star there. Averaged almost 30 points a game in 2017. So it's obvious that in the right situation he can be a star player. The thing that he's got to prove is that, the situation with the Lakers, the Cavs, and
he's worth that risk. He kind of has that.
It's obvious that he can be a star player.
Yeah. He has that little man syndrome where he's always kind of amped up and he always has a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
Where he's always talking this and that. We talked about when he was on IG Live, caught slipping, saying Cavs was trash or whatever.
Cleveland wasn't a good city.
Yeah, saying that stuff, but it's those things. It's character.
Yeah.
And people teams look at that. They really do care about those sort of things, and not just your game. Your game can speak volumes, but if you're not that great of a person, and if you're bad for a locker room, which is also something he's been accused of, which is something he also has to disprove is, his effect on teams in general.
So he's got to prove that he can be a veteran presence and a leader. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Because that's the thing. He's not a kid anymore. Yeah. He's a veteran, and he should be able to step up, make these big plays, which we've seen him do, and just be a mature leader, like you said, and be able to lead some of these people. Which, if you don't know, he's going to be playing for the Nuggets next year, and which I think is a great move for him. I think that he will be a great fit there. I think that's a great group of young guys who do need a veteran presence.
And he can come off the bench and be a key scorer for them. He was my pick for Sixth Man of the Year, assuming he can have the same effect or be maybe not as good because he won't be in a starting role, but be the same productive scorer that he was in Boston.
Right.
Apparently his hip is good now, so he's just got to prove that he's worth a contract, and he's got to prove that he belongs on an NBA team. After that magical stuff we saw in Boston, and playing through injury and playing through his sister's death, scoring 50 something against the Wizards in Game 2 of the second round. That was an unforgettable moment.
And he's got to prove that he's
still. He's got to like the same thing with Dame. He's got to prove that he's still that guy.
Right, and that's the thing. It's these people who are caught in this gray area. They've kind of hit a wall, so to speak, and so they have to push past it. And
prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, it's just about proving yourself and proving to other people, but more than anything, prove to yourself. Prove to yourself that you can do this, that you are that guy.
Yeah, and he's got his confidence never wavers. He still knows that he can probably still be that guy. He just wants to show everybody, and we got to see it.
Right, and some people haven't given him a chance. Some things have been messy. Certain teams haven't been the right fit for him.
Yeah,
but. I really hope that things work out with this Nuggets team and that he will be an essential player.
Me too. I think they'll make the playoffs, especially. And I think he'll have I think he'll have a great 6-man season, probably average, 18 points a game or something like that, if he's still the same Isaiah that we saw in Boston.
Right.
I don't think he'll ever, start over Murray or Gary Harris.
Yeah.
Because, those are the two young guys who they're going to put the future of the franchise in. And they might re-sign Isaiah as a 6-man as long as he's cool with that role. We'll just have to see how he plays.
Right.
Because I hate to say it, but he might be in danger of not getting a contract if he has another bum season. But I feel like last season was just an anomaly coming off injury and stuff. I think he'll be fine.
Right.
I think Kyrie's got to prove that he can get the Celtics to a championship.
Especially, like what I said earlier about, their young core stepping up. Now, what he's got to do is step up.
Yeah.
Because they're showing him hey, we can bring you to this level, but you're the missing piece. Since he was injured. I don't know what time during the season he got injured.
It was towards the end.
It was towards the end.
A couple weeks before the playoffs started.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks before playoffs started, which sucked. But
yeah,
it was a great opportunity to let these younger players prove themselves in a playoff situation.
Yeah,
and they did an amazing job.
Yeah, so he's got to come in and prove that he can get the Celtics to a championship, which I think he can.
Absolutely.
I've said it numerous times on this podcast. I think the Celtics can beat the Warriors.
He has amazing highlights alone just in his 1 year in the Celtics jersey.
It's crazy.
He's so fun to watch.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players. And I have no doubt in my mind that he can bounce back from the injury, still be the same Kyrie Irving, if not better. And on top of that, lead the Celtics at least to the finals, if not a championship. So he's just got to come in and show that he can do that, which I don't have a doubt that he can.
Right, exactly.
Can't.
So that's really, there's not much else to be said about that for Kyrie. We just want to see him healthy back, and we want, me and Alex both think this team is going to be scary.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be extremely scary to play against.
And he's also got to shut all this noise down about how the Celtics don't need him or whatnot, because
I haven't really heard that as much.
You haven't? I've heard that they don't need Kyrie.
They think Terry Rozier can take the reins.
Yeah, which someday he could. But
someday he could. But I don't.
They need him to get to win a championship.
And that's what I'm saying. He's that missing piece.
Right. Exactly. And then on top of that, they're gonna have Hayward back, who they didn't even have.
Yeah, that's another thing I totally forgot about. But Hayward, that seeing Kyrie and Hayward, two of the arguably two of the best people on that team, sitting out, and they still got that far in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's like I said, it's scary to see what they can do next season. I'm excited.
Yeah, and the Celtics might get 4 All-Stars. I don't think they're going to be able to land 5.
No.
But they could realistically, because Hayward was an All-Star the year before last, because he missed. He would have been an All-Star last year as well if he wasn't injured. But you remember Kyrie and Horford were All-Stars. Add Hayward to that. Add Tatum and Jaylen Brown to that. That's a legitimate 5 All-Star starting lineup. Yeah. John Wall, he's another player I think has to prove this season, because he missed like half the season last year from injury, and people were saying that the Wizards were better without him.
Right.
He's got to come in and be like, no. With me, we could make it to they're a sleeper team for me to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They might be able to beat out Toronto or Philly to get to play the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah,
it depends how the standings shake out. But they're definitely a team who needs to prove that John Wall needs to prove that he can be the leader of that team to get them that far. And he's got to shut down this noise that the Wizards are better without him, because they're not.
Yeah, and that's the drama, is that, your whole team doesn't even like you, or you guys don't get along, and, we don't know what's going inside the locker rooms. We don't know for sure. But, he is an amazing player. He's a great point guard, and they do suffer without him a good bit. And I think I'm trying to put this into words, but him and Beal have been very under the radar stars, so to speak.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah, Wall is very flashy, and Beal's a great shooter.
He was the first-time All-Star last year.
Yeah, but they don't get as much media attention as some of these other superstars and stars do.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of it has to do with team success. They got to be able to put up another fight in the second round like they did against Boston a couple years ago, or get to the conference finals.
Yeah, you can make as many highlight reels of yourself as you want, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is how far you push towards the championship.
And they did get Dwight Howard, so we got to see how that works out. If he's still a locker room cancer, then it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
But if they can all get along, I think they got a legitimate chance to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
I just don't know if they can.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see how it works out. I'd love to see a series between them and Philly.
That would be interesting. I would like that.
That would be awesome. But yeah, John Wall's got to prove that he makes the Wizards better and that he can elevate them to the next level.
Yeah.
I would say Harden, but
I feel like he proved enough. He was MVP.
Yeah, he was MVP. The only thing I got to say about James Harden is that in the playoffs, like Game 6 against the Spurs in 2017, he was like 2 for 10 field goals and like 5 turnovers, some horrible game in a game that they needed to win to force Game 7. They ended up losing Game 6 and they lost the series.
And that's a legitimate criticism, is that sometimes he doesn't show up during these big games.
Yes, that's my criticism of James Harden. After following up this MVP season, you either got to beat the Warriors.
Right. Prove that you deserve that MVP.
Yeah, which he definitely did. He's got to.
He already did for last season, but you know there were times that he did slip a little bit. Yeah. So
he's got to show up in these high leverage playoff games, which he has shown up before. But he has this habit of sometimes taking a night off in a big game. I don't know. They almost beat the Warriors last year. They might have with Chris Paul. Who knows? We'll never know.
Right.
But I think they have a chance to beat the Warriors this year, and if they don't,
and the fact that they got a 3-2 lead on them alone, is something to be talked about.
Yeah, and then Chris Paul goes down. You never know what happens. We've mentioned this before, but James Harden's just got to show up. He's got to prove that he can show up in these big games, and he's got to prove that he can lead his team alongside Chris Paul to a championship. If they'll probably get to the Western Conference Finals again this year. It'll be another bloodbath between the two, probably 6 or 7 game series. You know, you never know how a series is going to shake out with injuries or other things.
Yeah, most definitely.
But yeah, I mean, if he can get to the Western Conference Finals again, that's not going to knock his legacy. I just think before all is said and done, he's got to win a ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? To like cement himself as one of the top shooting guards ever. But yeah, guys, that's probably about it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and comment. Let us know what you think about the stuff we talked about. Subscribe if you're new. We're getting close to 550 subs. That's crazy that this channel has grown that much. Thank you guys so much for that. But yeah, remember to, like I said, leave a like and subscribe and comment and let us know what you think. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Later, guys.